What happened? Like, I just played a lot of plays.
The right decision. Go for it on 4th and 2.
I know you can't be asking me that question, man. Come on, man. We can't see that's like the thing. Like, if we want to change, the narrative, change the franchise, if we want to like help, we got to speak.
This ain't the first time, this ain't the last time that the media try to use strategies in place to try to create crevice, to try to create separation, to decide or to try to manipulate a storyline.
Cam Newton is shining a light on the darker side of the NFL media landscape, and it's time the public takes notice. Recently, Cam Newton took aim at the Cleveland Browns media, exposing them for what many of us have suspected for years, trying to sabotage the career of Shedeur Sanders, a rising star quarterback, all while hiding behind the facade of sports journalism. The NFL media world has seen its share of controversy, but Newton's words cut to the heart of something more insidious. These media figures are doing their best to drag down Shedeur's reputation, portraying him as a failure and seeking to divide him from his team before he even gets the chance to shine. What's even more shocking is how they've tried to paint him as something he's not, irresponsible and unworthy, based on the smallest missteps. Cam Newton's remarks were bold, but they expose a problem that's been brewing for years: the media's race-driven agenda against black quarterbacks.
Like, when you ask questions or when questions are asked to us players and it's like you pinning stuff against each other, it's like, come on now.
Shedeur Sanders, despite all his promise, is now a target, and the Browns media cannot stand his stardom. Shedeur, however, has never said a word to fuel the fire. He stays silent, and in doing so, the media is left trying to create a narrative out of thin air. The truth is, Shedeur Sanders is a star, and as his rise continues, certain media outlets seem to want to tear him down, to push him into failure before he even has the chance to succeed. Cam Newton doesn't hold back on this issue. He believes the Browns media has been actively trying to run their mouths to create a narrative where Shedeur fails, all while trying to undermine his potential and force him into a mold they can control. But why is this happening? Why would the Browns media specifically target Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback with so much potential? The answer may lie in a pattern of media behavior towards black quarterbacks that stretches back decades. But let's start with the present. The Browns media has been doing everything they can to put Shedeur in a bad light. Cam Newton, in his powerful comments, pointed out that the media's frustration is not just about Shedeur's performance. It's about the fact that he is unbothered by their attacks.
What do you mean by standing with
Well, that's what I'm asking. Do you think it's changed anything? I mean, you're clearly on the roster, you're here every day. But...
Yeah, so that's what I can be thankful for.
Shedeur Sanders doesn't give the media the drama they want. He doesn't engage with the toxic energy they try to throw at him. Instead, he stays focused on his craft, letting his performance on the field do the talking. But the Browns media isn't satisfied with that. They want him to slip up. They want him to falter, to give them something they can use to build a narrative around. But Shedeur refuses to comply. His silence is deafening, and that's exactly what bothers them the most. Shedeur's poise, his professionalism, and his refusal to let the media manipulate him is a direct challenge to their agenda. Cam Newton pointed out how, rather than celebrating Shedeur's accomplishments, the media is desperate to find any angle that could undermine him. They ask leading questions in press conferences, trying to create rifts within the locker room, suggesting that there's discord among teammates. The questions they ask are designed to create division, but Shedeur continues to shut them down with his maturity. The media knows that, without that internal strife, they have nothing to exploit. So, they keep pushing, trying to generate some kind of controversy. But Shedeur refuses to play their game.
I be hoping you got something positive to say about me. You always say negative stuff about me. And I'm like, I ain't do nothing to you. No, I ain't seen nothing positive that you ever say.
And it's not just about the locker room. The media's consistent portrayal of Shedeur Sanders is that of a failure. Despite all his success and growth, the media continues to question his ability. Why? Because Shedeur doesn't fit the mold they expect. They still want to see him stumble, so they continue to push the narrative that the Browns need a new quarterback. Despite his masterclasses against the Raiders and Titans, where he showed why he's one of the brightest young QBs in the league, the media just cannot bring themselves to accept his talent. Instead, they point to every mistake, every minor hiccup, to create doubt. Now, you might be thinking, this kind of behavior is typical for any young player in the NFL, right? And to some extent, you would be right. But what sets Shedeur Sanders apart from most young quarterbacks is the consistent and relentless negativity he faces. The reason for this isn't just his inexperience or his occasional mistakes. It's the color of his skin. Black quarterbacks in the NFL have always had to fight an uphill battle. From the very first days of integration, the media has been hostile towards black QBs, often questioning their ability to lead teams and succeed. Even when these athletes prove their worth, the media has often found new ways to diminish their achievements.
It ain't never been nothing new. This is something that has always been true, that any type of person that covers this team and cover this sport.
Cam Newton, being a former quarterback himself, has a unique perspective on this. He knows the pressure that black quarterbacks face in the league, and he's no stranger to the media's scrutiny. But Newton's comments about Shedeur go deeper than just the typical media treatment of young quarterbacks. He is directly calling out the Browns media for what it is: racially motivated. And he's right. The media's ongoing attack on Shedeur is not a random incident. It's part of a larger pattern. The media's attacks on Shedeur Sanders go beyond just a few misleading headlines. Let's look at an example that garnered significant attention: Shedeur's speeding ticket. Now let's be clear. Getting a speeding ticket is a minor issue. We've all been there. But when Shedeur Sanders received a speeding ticket, the Browns media turned it into a full-blown scandal. They treated it like it was a huge deal, a character flaw, and something that could somehow undermine his ability to play football. Mary Kay Cabot, a prominent reporter for the Cleveland Browns, even went as far as calling him irresponsible and suggesting that he didn't deserve to be on an NFL team. This wasn't just an isolated comment. It was part of the narrative they were building. They needed Shedeur to be seen as reckless, undisciplined, and undeserving of the spotlight he was earning.
100 miles an hour. Yep. All you fanboys, go ahead. Manziel, Baker, Deshaun Watson, defended it to the hilt on your Reddit account. Sorry. Don't minimize it. Don't pander. This is not good for a quarterback.
And it didn't stop there. Other analysts, like Colin Cowherd, jumped on the bandwagon. Cowherd, known for his inflammatory takes, gaslit the situation, portraying Shedeur's speeding ticket as something far worse than it actually was. Instead of acknowledging the fact that speeding tickets happen to millions of people every day, Cowherd decided to paint Shedeur as reckless, a young man who wasn't ready for the big league. The irony? Shedeur had not even played a single snap in an NFL game at the time. What's more frustrating is how quickly the media shifted their tune when Shedeur started performing on the field. After he faced off against the Raiders and the Titans, putting on masterclass performances that showcased his potential as one of the league's brightest young quarterbacks, the narrative started to change, slightly. The media started praising his play, but it was clear that many of them still had a chip on their shoulder. They couldn't outright deny Shedeur's talent, but they couldn't let go of the narrative they'd been pushing either.
Humility works in the summer. It works in the fall. Humility works in the spring. Humility works in the winter. Don't gas your kids up too much.
But here's the thing. The media had already made up its mind about Shedeur Sanders before he even set foot on an NFL field. It wasn't about whether he could play. It was about his potential to succeed as a black quarterback in a league that's often been hostile to players of color. The media wanted him to fail so badly that they did everything in their power to make it happen. They created stories, manufactured controversies, and tried to find every flaw to keep him from succeeding. When he played well, they begrudgingly acknowledged his skill, but deep down, many of them still hoped he wouldn't last. They wanted to see him fail. This media fiasco isn't a new phenomenon. It's a consistent issue with black quarterbacks, particularly those with high potential. From the days of Warren Moon and Doug Williams to Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson, black quarterbacks have had to prove themselves time and time again, only to face relentless media scrutiny at every turn. Shedeur Sanders is just the latest in a long line of talented black quarterbacks who have been undermined by a media that has a long history of doubting their abilities. In conclusion, what's happening to Shedeur Sanders is more than just bad journalism. It's a systemic issue. The media's treatment of Shedeur is part of a larger, deeply ingrained bias that has plagued black quarterbacks for decades. Despite all of this, Shedeur continues to rise above it. His performance on the field speaks louder than any media headline, and his silence in the face of their attacks is a testament to his maturity and professionalism. Cam Newton's words are a much-needed wake-up call. It's time to stop pretending that the media's treatment of black quarterbacks is just a coincidence. It's time to recognize that Shedeur Sanders, like many before him, is facing an uphill battle, not just from opposing teams, but from a biased media that can't handle his success. But as long as Shedeur continues to prove them wrong, the media will be forced to confront their own biases. And we'll all be here to watch. Support Shedeur Sanders. Call out the media when they get it wrong. And remember, this is about more than just one player. It's about changing the narrative for all black quarterbacks who are unfairly scrutinized. Shedeur Sanders has the talent to succeed, and no amount of negative media coverage will change that. This is just the beginning for Shedeur. The Browns media can't stop him now, and they never will.